All right, so we've got Mr. Dale Basler here
Hello.
from the Appleton Area School District. What's your official title, Mr. Basler?
I am now an instructional coach in technology.
All right,
Oh.
instructional coach in
Yeah.
technology. And Mr. McDonald is here too, and he's going to be asking Mr. Basler some questions about his cool drone that he's getting set up.
Yep. Well, I got this screen here and I'm not used to using it, so that's why I'm fiddling more than normal.
That's pretty cool. You can put a whole iPad on this thing.
Yeah, and it's nice to have a big screen, but you don't have to. You can put a cell phone on there.
Okay. Yeah,
And,
that's what I've seen most of the time is
And
people with their
I
cell
do
phones.
that too, but this, as long as we have it, it's worth it. It does kind of move around on you. They get a little heavy too, so some people use there's a hook here and they'll use a lanyard to kind of hold it.
Oh, just to make sure in case you were to.
If you drop it, but just kind of, otherwise you're kind of tensed up and that kind of just lets
Okay.
lets the things down.
So that is not the drone itself. That's the
No,
device
that
that
is not.
controls the
That's
drone.
nice. And because we have a nice sunny day here, he's got the shield on it so you can actually.
Yeah, the good news is it's a nice sunny day. Oh, let's see here.
Where?
Well, the software will help it'll help you record video and things like that and see what you're seeing. So it gives you a display. Like this controller doesn't have any screen for me to see like what's coming through the camera. So that's why they use a phone or an iPad or something like that to be your eyes, or basically, or be the screen for you to see.
Do you get the software when you get the drone?
Yeah, anybody can download the software, and then let me just turn this on. Yeah, you just download it, and then you do have to register it for this particular company. You have to register it and do those kinds of things first because they want to make sure that you have the in their software, they kind of control where you can fly now, so that you're not flying over an airport and things like that. So we're 5 miles from an airport, so we're just perfect. We're almost on. We could, we go a little farther that way, and then we'd have to. You can fly there, close to an airport, but then you got to call,
Okay.
and then let the airport know that you're like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going in here, and I'm gonna try that out. So.
Yeah. Have you ever done that? Where you've had to call, or
No,
you
I
just always
haven't.
stay outside
I've
the
never
5?
needed to do that, so that hasn't been a problem. A lot of times the airports, smaller airports, they don't know what to do. So they're like, and for a long time they were saying like, no, you can't do that. And it was because this is so new that like laws for this is becoming really a challenge. But it's really important though to follow those rules, because every bad example just sort of adds to the story of, oh well, drones are bad, let's ban them in our city. So every time someone goes and like gets in the way of an emergency rescue, or I was in California with a little drone, and a lot of the coastline has animal protection areas. And you would like to fly over those animals, but it actually does kind of stop the animals from migrating there then, and because it's a disturbance. So all of those kinds of things are there for good reasons, and you don't want to break those laws because then it kind of ruins it for everybody else. Right?
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Gotcha. Now with you connecting here, I mean, you don't have to be on Wi-Fi or anything for this to work with.
No,
the drones?
this thing makes its own little Wi-Fi in which I'm connecting to.
Okay.
And then it connects to the drone. So I connect to my from the controls to the. This is the best sound, isn't it? Controls to the from the controls to the phone is via Wi-Fi, and then the antennas are at some sort of radio signal that I'm not familiar with. Don't forget to take our little guard off of here.
And your drone has a camera, right, Mr. Basler?
Yep, a lot of them have cameras now, and the camera has what's called a gimbal. So if you see, gimbal means that as I turn it, it's compensating. So the best way to see that is like, see, it tries to compensate so that the camera's not shaking and just all over the place.
Gotcha. That's cool.
First drone I got is like a little toy one.
Okay.
Well, it was still kind of expensive, but it was like a $60 kind of one. There's a lot of those now, but when I did it, it wasn't a ton of it. And then so I kind of practiced, and the reason I did that is because it was the one that was recommended to get used to the controls with. It had the same controls as most drones have. So that was one thing. Then we got one that's like this, but sort of a cheaper model.
Okay.
Very similar though. And I split that with a friend of mine because it was like, well, if we break it, we're only halfway in, and you're not sure if you really want to do it and stuff like that. Then our school district bought this, so this one's the schools. And then recently I just bought a little one, but it's pretty advanced with technology, and so that's kind of neat about that. So I do recommend like go slowly into it.
So how much does a drone like this cost?
You know, it can start off at like this size, about $400, and you can work your way all the way up to $1,600, and they really do add a lot more to them for that. Because of that, you can have drones that are thousands and thousands of dollars. They make drones for careers now, where they are used for inspection, so they'll be much bigger, and they will inspect like things that are hard to get to, like let's say power and big high voltage power lines. So that's hard to reach. So they'll have, or windmills. That's another one. Windmills, and they'll have one person controlling the flying and another person controlling the camera, and that way they can scan it for. One person is essentially using the camera and doing the inspecting, and the other person's doing the flying. They do that for filming too now. So let's see if we can just get this in the air, and it seems to be a little grouchy lately. So.
Can you
Let's
do
just
this
put it
for a
up in
while?
the air and just get a little bit of video of it going off first. So when everything's working fine, it's supposed to hold itself. It doesn't seem that windy out today, and it seems to be moving around a little bit, but it uses GPS to try to hold its position.
That's cool. Yeah, a little bit of a breeze though.
Yeah, a little bit. So it fights it a little bit, and so I could. Let's see here. Let's do some recording. Yeah. So like this will just take it straight up, and up goes the drone. But it doesn't stay focused on the car because I'm just jumping away from it.
Oh, gotcha.
So newer drones will allow you to do a certain command, essentially a button on the screen that'll do it for you. This one, I have to toggle this little guy on the back, which moves the camera up and down, and try to do both of them at the same time.
Okay.
Oh, that's good, because it has a shadow. There you go.
That's cool.
And if I just kind of turn it around, I can face you recording it, and you can lower that camera. You see the camera moves up and down, and that's for me one of the things I'm practicing is trying to lower that camera a little more slowly. And that's the other thing. If you're going to do video and things like that, you're trying to come up with ways to kind of fly it not real jerky, because that's hard to watch. And so the newer drones, like the one I got, starting to have lots of software to do some of that for you. It'll just be like, do a nice smooth takeoff and film us, you know?
Nice.
So, then you can be more creative and not spend all the time, trying to learn how to be a drone.
I didn't think they were that dangerous till the Indians pitcher last year nearly cut off his pinky, so.
Yeah, they are like, that's another good thing to get to tell kids. Is, they're plastic propellers, but it's high speed plastic knives basically. And yeah, you can cut yourself. So the WCA building's in there right now. We have the
because you're able
shot right there. What do you think of that? You can see the, I don't know, it just drifted out of the way from the trees. I'm really surprised by how much it's fighting. Yeah. So let's go
we could even stay low and...
There. So that's kind of framed up. You have a sign in the background.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay.
So from here, do you want to, you have that recorded? So from here, let's take a look at just what's above your school. So we'll go straight up. Well, not straight up, that was forward. And over. So we're
Everyone's
going.
just fascinated with every car driving by. Like
Yeah.
There's a grandpa behind us and a little boy behind him.
So here's a nice pan down at the school.
Obviously, we're not going to do this today, but what's the highest you could take something like this?
Legally, 400 feet.
Okay.
You don't want to go, it can go higher than that, but you don't want to.
Okay.
Tell you how high you are?
Yes, right now we are at 55 feet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a
Wanna
cool.
wave to it? Hello. So yeah, we could go a lot higher. So there's you know the downtown Appleton. I think we're seeing there.
oh, cool.
So as we go higher, we can take a lot of look at
That's
that.
amazing.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're 55 feet away. Now we're 103 feet high.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we were a little higher than that already. It's hard for me to see where we're going because of the
Gonna block the sun.
because of the glare.
Now, can you... You're kind of controlling it a little bit, but can you kind of say, I want you to hold at a certain height, and then you control, or what can
We
you...
do have settings for like certain holds and things like that.
Yeah.
But if I'm letting go right now, it will do everything it can fighting the wind to
Okay.
hold that position.
Okay. So if you don't do anything, this particular one will try and hold where you left it.
It'll hold there until the battery goes dead,
Okay.
and then so here it comes back down. Depends on how aggressive, how the wind is, that kind of stuff. But 20 minutes to 30 minutes.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Now smaller ones, like I have one that's smaller, it's going to be a lot less.
Yeah, mine I think is like 7.
And then just to land it, I'm just pulling it down, and at the end it'll just stop.
And you're controlling the speed.
Yeah.
Perfect landing. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, there is a button that make it land itself, but I'm kind of control freak. I like
Yeah.
to control it, but like the newer ones, they won't. You have to let it land by itself. You have to press the button and stuff. So